Hello everyone, I'm very glad that you listened to my story. Please give me a follow and like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment and provide feedback so I can improve the sound quality. Yes, I will now continue the unfinished story. Chapter 74 The Central Region. Stepping inside, Shenlong felt the increasing quality of the qi in the air around him, as it was being absorbed by the magic beasts living in the central region. Master, you have to be careful inside. I can sense many magic beasts and none of them is below the rank 3. Little Black warned Shenlong as he used his soul to sense everything in a 30-mile radius around him. Shenlong nodded as he asked. Little Black, won't we get discovered by the magic beasts here if you keep using your soul to sense the surroundings? Don't worry Master, unless a magic beast has already reached the rank 5, it is impossible for it to notice my soul sense. Shenlong breathed out in relief, but he was still extremely careful as he slowly headed deeper inside. The magic beasts in the central region were all at the rank 3 or even higher, and attracting their attention would be disastrous. Beast roars could be heard everywhere around Shenlong as the central region seemed to be a constant battlefield for the magic beasts here. After all, this was the place with the purest qi in the entire demonic mountain region, so how could the fighting here be avoided? However, with Little Black's directions, Shenlong had managed to avoid the lurking dangers around him as he headed deeper inside. Anyone who had the guts to enter the central region would witness abundant scenes of rank 3 magic beasts fighting and killing each other. However, these scenes had started to become less frequent as Shenlong entered deeper inside the region, while the strength of the magic beasts around him grew stronger and stronger, the closer he approached to the central mountain. After 8 hours of careful walking and detoring, Shenlong had arrived in front of a huge lake that was 150 miles away from the central mountain. The lake was more than 10 miles wide, and if Shenlong wanted to reach the central mountain, he either had to go through it or go around it. On the left side of the lake, there was a big mountain, while on its right, one could see a large lush forest. Little Black, can you sense anything? Master, the lake is extremely dangerous. I can sense a magic beast lurking inside that is very close to the peak of rank 4, so we will have to take a detour. Inside the forest on our right, I can sense a middle rank 4 aerial magic beast, as well as quite a big number of rank 3 beasts, while in the mountain on our left, I can only sense the aura of an early rank 4 magic beast, but I can't identify what kind of beast it is yet. So I think it's best if Master passes through the mountain. Shenlong thought deeply for a while, before he shook his head and said, "We will go through the forest." Little Black was confused after hearing that they will go through the path that had the most magic beasts. One could argue that this forest was even more deadly than the lake. Sensing the dragon's bewilderment, Shenlong laughed lightly as he explained. The lake is obviously impossible to traverse if we don't fly over it, which leaves us with only the mountain and the lush forest as our options. However, although the forest looks to be more dangerous at first glance, in reality this is actually the best choice for us. Since the middle stage rank 4 beast inside it, is a flying type magic beast, it will most likely have a bad sense of smell. Little Black's eyes inside the stone of time glistened brightly as he heard Shenlong's words. Meanwhile, we don't know what kind of magic beast that early rank 4 living on the mountain really is. If it's not an aerial beast, then even with me hiding my aura there is still a chance that it will locate me through my smell. But even if it is a flying magic beast, while I can use the environment of the trees to hide myself in the forest, there won't really be any place to take cover in a mountain. Little Black was dazed for a good while. As a dragon, he would never consider the physical attributes of other magic beasts. He would simply use his strength to do everything he wanted. But Shenlong seemed to have thought through everything and had already calculated the best route to take. Entering the forest, Shenlong found nearly a dozen rank 2 medicinal herbs lying around. However, not a single rank 3 herb was anywhere in sight. I guess that the magic beasts here have already hoarded the good stuff, Shenlong sighed as he kept walking forward. The forest had more than 10 magic beasts lying in wait inside, but Shenlong easily avoided them with Little Black's soul sense. Nearly 2 hours later, Shenlong arrived in front of a stream, as he saw a huge bird more than 5 meters, 16 feet, tall, sleeping atop a big tree at the other side of the bank. "This is a four-winged ice bird," Shenlong mumbled as he looked at the sleeping bird atop the tall tree. The bird had 4 icy blue wings wrapped around it, that were in stark contrast with its brown body and red beak. To pass through the forest, Shenlong had to get to the other side of the bank. If he actually wanted to swim through the stream, or even jump all the way to the other side, he would definitely end up waking the magic beast. However, Shenlong simply smiled and thanked his lucky stars that the bird was asleep, as he clenched his right hand and punched the air in front of him. As his fist hit the air, a space tier big enough to fit a person was formed as Shenlong entered it and instantly arrived at the other side of the bank. Almost as if sensing something, right after Shenlong entered the space tier, the four-winged ice bird snapped open its eyes as it looked around the stream. Although it didn't find anyone, the magic beast was now keeping a vigilant watch over its surroundings. As a middle stage rank 4 beast, the four-winged ice bird's senses and intelligence were nothing to scoff at. Thankfully, Shenlong had instantly taken cover underneath a tree, before opening another space tier to flee deeper inside the forest. At the same time that Shenlong entered the second space tier, the four-winged ice bird suddenly set its sights on the tree that he had taken cover at earlier. After flapping its wings, the bird instantly arrived in front of that tree. All 4 of its wings then lit up with a snow-white light as shards of ice had suddenly formed on them. Flapping its wings once again, the four-winged ice bird sent a barrage of ice flying at the tree, filling it with countless holes. Only after seeing that there wasn't anyone there, did the bird finally leave. Shenlong sighed in relief a few tens of meters away after seeing this scene. This four-winged ice bird is really terrifying. I didn't make the slightest sound and yet it still seemed to have somehow felt my presence. Master definitely didn't leave any traces behind after your spatial leap. It was probably the bird's intuition that alarmed it? Little Black exclaimed with confidence. Earlier, he was ready to jump out from the stone of time and fight against the four-winged ice bird, if its attack was about to threaten Shenlong. After a few more hours, night had already fallen as Shenlong finally reached the end of the huge forest. He could now clearly see the huge central mountain that was just a few miles away. The mountain had many caves in it and surprisingly, it was void of any vegetation. Forget about trees, not even a single plant existed on it. "Master, I can sense 2 presences inside that mountain," Little Black said after he sent his soul to scan through it. 2. Shenlong asked, confused. Could it be that there are 2 magic beasts instead of 1 in the central mountain? Little Black nodded his head at Shenlong's question as he continued. "Master, actually, I don't understand what is going on here. There seem to be 2 presences, but only one of them seems to actually be alive." Even Little Black, who had lived for so many years, hadn't met with such a situation before. Shenlong pondered over it for a bit, before he decided to rest for the night and continue towards the central mountain tomorrow after his strength had replenished, when a loud screech filled with hatred came from the central mountain, shaking the entire central region. Chapter 75 Cancel the Exam. The screech was so powerful that it didn't just shake the entire central region but also traveled through every single place of the entire demonic mountain region. Even the big shots from the 4 sects were alarmed, as they looked at each other with fear in their eyes. Grand Elder Huizhong of the Flying Sword sect looked at the other 3 people around him as he said. That was definitely the cry of the overlord of the demonic mountain region. Do you think that perhaps someone has managed to anger it? Everyone looked at Huizhong stupefied before Grand Elder Lanhong was the first one to respond as he lashed out at him. Nonsense! How could anyone even get close to that magic beast, let alone provoke it? Huizhong, I say, have you gone senile due to your old age? Huizhong was immediately angered by Lanhong's words as he responded. You are the one who has gone senile, Lan. Do you think that monster would cry out for no reason? Lan Hong snorted disdainfully before the vice pavilion master from the Roaring Wind Pavilion. Li Huiyan came forth to meditate as she said. Seniors, please calm down. There is no mistaking it, as per to whom that beast cry belonged to. However, it's also unlikely that there is anyone strong enough in our desolate east that can fight that bird. Even the head priest of the Golden Buddha Temple doesn't have any confidence in fighting it. However, at that moment Lan Hong's expression suddenly changed as he remembered something that the sect master Lu Jian had said, back in the central hall about 2 months ago. Everyone instantly noticed his change in expression as sect master De Chao was the first one to ask. Elder Lan, could it be that you know something about this? Author's note, the usage of the word elder here, refers to someone's age and it isn't the same as the word elder which refers to someone's status. Lan Hong however, shook his head as he said. What Vice Pavilion Master Li Huiyan said earlier, may not be necessarily true. After taking a deep breath, Lan Hong continued. About 2 months ago, a mysterious person appeared in my floating cloud city. No one managed to communicate with him, aside from a small rank 3 bronze grade alchemist. However, that mysterious person happened to release his aura once, and the entire floating cloud city trembled. Lu Jian then ordered everyone to keep what had happened a secret as that person had most likely exceeded the spirit realm. Even I wouldn't have mentioned it today if the circumstances weren't as such. Everyone suddenly sucked in a cold breath as they considered the implications of this shocking revelation. After hearing Lan Hong's words, Hui Zhong asked gravely. Old man Lan, are you certain that this person has reached that stage then? Everyone stared intently at Lan Hong, who in return shook his head as he said. This is just the estimation of Lu Jian. However, even if this person hasn't reached that stage yet, he shouldn't be too far from it. Silence suddenly permeated the place as this news was like a hammer that struck everyone's hearts. The Vice Pavilion Master Li Huiyan suddenly asked. Then, what will happen to the sect examination? De Chao and Hui Zhong's eyes flashed with panic as both their son and grandson were inside the demonic mountain region. I think that we should cancel the sect exam and summon all the disciples back here. De Chao nodded after hearing Hui Zhong's words and said. I agree. Things have gotten out of our control. If every disciple inside dies, then that would be a tragedy for our sections. Lan Hong, who heard their words, immediately understood what they were worried about. He turned his head to look at Li Huiyan as he said. Vice Pavilion Master, I think it's best if we first wait for the Qi eruption to finish before we end the sect exam prematurely. Since this was a joint sect examination, and 3 out of 4 people had already taken their stance, everything depended on what Li Huiyan's vote. If she sided with De Chao and Hui Zhong, then the sect examination would end now, while if she agreed with Lan Hong, then the sect exam would continue normally as it would, until the central mountain erupted. As everyone looked at the blue-robed Vice Pavilion Master of the Roaring Wind Pavilion, she sighed as she turned her eyes at Lan Hong and said. I think that we should end the sect examination ahead of time. The dangers for our disciples have already escalated beyond our control. De Chao and Hui Zhong sighed in relief while Lan Hong felt a slight sense of loss. Although the other two had a chance to lose their direct descendants in the chaos, the Qi eruption that happened once every 30 years had always allowed the disciples that survived to become stronger than the other batches. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was an opportunity filled with endless danger, that allowed a carp to become a dragon. The 4 of them took out their sect-identifying jades, and as they activated them, countless strands of red light flew towards the demonic mountain region. What is this? Did the sect exam end prematurely? Haha. I'm sure it's the Grand Elder. He couldn't bear seeing so many talents of our flying sword sect die here, so he must have persuaded everyone to end the sect exam ahead of time. All the disciples who had been frightened silly previously by the terrifying screech that came from the central region, now felt a sense of relief as they saw their sect jades emit a red light that indicated the end of the exam. At that moment, in the central region, every rank 4 magic beast was looking at the central mountain where that screech had originated from. After Shunlong had heard that loud cry, his brows shot up as he muttered, "It can't be. How can something like that ever be a rank 4 magic beast? I must be mistaken." "Master, did you find out anything?" Little Black asked after hearing Shunlong mumbling to himself. "It's nothing," Shunlong replied as he shook his head before he saw a faint strand of red light coming all the way from the outer region, as it headed towards the sect identifying jade at his pocket. The sect jade lit up with a red light, that was like an invisible string which Shunlong could follow to return back to the demonic mountain region's entrance. They decided to end the sect exam already? There is no way that I will simply go back after having come so close to the central mountain. Originally, Shunlong was planning to rest for the night before heading towards the mountain in the morning, but now, he had to alter his plans. Little Black, who saw that Shunlong was ready to go to the central mountain, now said, "Master, the magic beast that cried out earlier, is no ordinary peak rank 4 magic beast. Based on the strength of its roar earlier, I'm afraid that its power could probably match up to even some early rank 5 beasts. I'm afraid that even with your monarch's eternal body it will be hard for us to escape after entering its lair." Shunlong nodded his head after he heard Little Black's words and replied, "I know. Don't worry, I still have a trump card if things really turn bad for us." Absorbing the pure chi in this demonic mountain region, had incited Shunlong's greed. If the treasure inside the central mountain was really connected to the purity of the chi here, then it was worth taking the risk to obtain it. Shunlong already knew that both his monarch's domain as well as his monarch's eternal body would probably be useless against a beast that was at the peak of rank 4 like the overlord of the demonic mountain region. Although treasures were important, one still had to be alive to obtain them, hence without a certain degree of assurance, Shunlong wouldn't head at the central mountain since he already knew of the dangers beforehand. Little Black didn't warn Shunlong again. He had absolute faith in his master, and if he really was about to die, then the Black Dragon would accompany him to the other world without a second thought. This was what it meant to share life and death. Almost half an hour later, Shunlong arrived at the foot of this barren mountain. Looking up from the base of the mountain, one couldn't even see its peak that was hidden inside the clouds. Now that they were closer to it, Little Black once again sent his soul to sense the surroundings. A couple of breaths later he said, "Master, I can sense the two presences from before. They are both inside a cave at the heart of the mountain." Taking a step forward, Shunlong followed Little Black's directions as he started climbing the central mountain. Chapter 76: The Secret at the Heart of the Central Mountain. The central region had turned completely silent after the King of the Beasts had let out that screech earlier. In the dark night, the only sound that could be heard in the central mountain amidst the eerie silence, was Shunlong's footsteps as he slowly climbed up. His aura was completely concealed by the monarch's hourglass as he walked towards the heart of the mountain. The closer he approached towards the mountain's center, the thicker chi in the air around him was becoming. Shunlong even felt that if he sat down cross-legged to cultivate here, he could probably break through from the middle of rank 8 all the way to the early rank 9 of chi condensation in less than a day. However, as soon as this thought took form in his head, it was instantly extinguished. The central mountain was the territory of a peak rank 4 magic beast. If Shunlong cultivated here and failed to keep his aura suppressed, he would definitely expose himself and his plan would be ruined. Meanwhile, as Shunlong was climbing up the central mountain, the outer region had turned into chaos as the disciples from the 4 sects were running around recklessly as they looked to leave the demonic mountain region, causing countless fights with the magic beasts on their way. Numerous disciples had fallen victims to the magic beasts in the process, as the outer region now completely resembled a battlefield. The dead bodies of the sect disciples were lying around everywhere and even more were piling up as time went by. After all, the vast majority of the disciples participating in the sect exam were between the rank 7 in chi condensation to the early rank 1 in earth grade. Even the disciples that were previously in the safe area of the inner region like Yang Ryu and the others had already left as they were heading back to the demonic mountain region's entrance. Yang Ryu, who was now resting along with 3 other men and 2 women at the outer region, turned his head to look towards the inner region as he sighed and said to himself in a low voice, "I hope that brother Shun will be all right." One of the girls that were together with Yang Ryu looked at him as she asked, "Senior brother Yang, are you talking about the person that you entered the safe area with?" Yang Ryu nodded his head. One of the 3 men that was wearing the robes of the iron-hardened sect heard their conversation and butted in as he said, "Tisk, entering the inner region alone is tantamount to suicide. Even my elder brother died in there as he followed senior brother Dechong. I heard that senior brother Dechong and a few others barely managed to survive by the skin of their teeth after they entered the inner region, so that person who was arrogant enough to enter in there alone has probably already turned into magic beast food by now." Yang Ryu's face was visibly angered, but he knew that what this person said was the truth. However, since Shun Long had saved his life back when they were at the outer region and even helped him get to the safe area, Yang Ryu couldn't stay silent in front of this taunting. Snorting, he looked at the young man in brown robes as he said, "Do you really think that your senior brother Dechong is the strongest person in this sect exam? I heard that Liu Ming from the Flying Sword sect only lost 3 people from his group inside the inner region as he came out safely. So what, do you think that your friend is at the same level as senior brother Dechong or Liu Ming? If that's the case and you are so confident in him making it out alive, then why didn't you wait for him to return to the safe area and instead left with us?" Yang Ryu felt extremely ashamed and angry as he heard these words. He felt ashamed because that person was right, and yet he felt angry because this man had also just exposed him. Indeed, he too believed that Shun Long would die inside the inner region, and that was the reason why he didn't wait for him to return to the safe area. Although he knew that Shun Long was strong, Yang Ryu still felt that Shun Long was quite a bit weaker than the 3 geniuses. And since the 3 geniuses were having problems in the inner region and Dechong's group from the iron-hardened sect had almost faced destruction in there, how could one Shun Long possibly survive? As these people were arguing, Shun Long, who was climbing up the central mountain at that time, had almost reached the midway point already, as he had now completely retracted his aura, and even suppressed his own breathing. A huge cave could be seen in front of him, with an entrance more than 9 meters 30 feet high. Shun Long could feel a powerful dark aura, as well as wave after wave of pure chi coming from inside this cave. This aura wasn't directly attacking him, and yet Shun Long now felt a heavy feeling in his chest as his steps halted right before the entrance. A feeling as if he was getting suffocated overcame him, and just as Little Black, who had noticed this, came out from the Stone of Time, the Monarch's hourglass had started circulating by itself inside his body, instantly getting rid of this suppressing feeling. Shun Long breathed out in relief while he was shocked to find out that his body still wasn't emitting any of his aura. Presumably, as long as he didn't exert himself now, the Monarch's hourglass could stay active and keep suppressing this dark aura, without leaving behind the slightest trace. After entering the cave, Shun Long's surroundings completely darkened as he walked deeper inside. It felt as if he was walking inside a giant tunnel that was completely devoid of light. Thankfully he had Little Black's soul sense, and after about a dozen minutes had passed, he could finally see some light in the distance. Heading towards the origin of this light, Shun Long, who had finally reached the end of the cave, saw a stupefying scene unfold in front of his eyes. Chapter 77, Heaven Swallowing Vine. As Shun Long reached the end of the cave, the scene in front of his eyes had left him tongue-tied. A huge bird almost 10 meters, 33 feet, tall had wrapped itself around a giant vine, that was no smaller than the bird itself. The bird's wings were a shiny silver color while its wingspan was more than 30 meters 100 feet long. Shun Long, who looked at the bird, felt like an explosion had just set off inside his head. Little Black was shocked as well, as he said in disbelief, "Master, that green vine must be the treasure of this demonic mountain region. Also, What is a rock doing in a place like this? How can a rock be at just the peak of rank 4? Rocks are very similar to us dragons, so its strength should have at least been at the peak of rank 7 as it was born. Shunlong didn't even answer Little Black's question as his eyes were glued at the huge vine at the heart of the mountain. The silver-winged rock had tried to completely encapsulate the green vine by wrapping its wings around it, looking almost like it was trying to absorb it inside its own body. The green light that the vine emitted held a kind of fatal allure to magic beasts. Even Shunlong's heartbeat had started speeding up at the thought of obtaining this treasure. After taking a few breaths to calm himself down, Shunlong answered Little Black's question. This isn't a pure rock, that's why it is only at the peak of rank 4. Its bloodline seems to belong to the silver-winged rocks, but it is extremely impure. I guess that one of its ancestors was a pure-blooded silver-winged rock, but as time passed, the pure blood of the silver-winged rock became thinner and thinner with every passing generation. Taking another deep breath, Shunlong continued. However, the important thing here isn't the silver-winged rock, but the green vine at the heart of the mountain. Little Black's attention was also on the green vine. As he had too felt the attraction that the vine was emitting, he curiously asked. Master, do you know what this vine is? I don't seem to recall ever seeing a plant like this. Shunlong nodded his head as he said. If I'm not wrong, this is a heaven-swallowing vine. Impossible. How could such a treasure exist here? Little Black asked, but his voice seemed to be slightly trembling. To Shunlong, Little Black's reaction wasn't exaggerated at all. Instead, he nodded his head as he answered. I don't know how, but it's definitely real. Originally, I didn't even think that a heaven-swallowing vine could exist in this place, but now I understand why the chi in this demonic mountain region is so pure compared to the floating cloud cities. The heaven-swallowing vine is absorbing the chi from its surroundings as it turns it into pure chi. Seeing the silver-winged rock wrapping itself around the heaven-swallowing vine, Little Black felt fury as well as envy in his heart. How could an impure small rank 4 rock try to eat a heavenly treasure like the heaven-swallowing vine? Even Little Black in the past hadn't seen such a treasure as this vine, if you excluded the Stone of Time, of course. This heaven-swallowing vine was a treasure that could advance the rate of your cultivation, if your body cultivated close to it. However, the heaven-swallowing vine was also rumored to have its own spirit, and it was known in the cultivation world that things that were alive couldn't enter spatial rings. As Shunlong was staring at the vine with greed evident in his eyes, the rock's eyes suddenly snapped open. Its bright red eyes were staring at Shunlong with extreme hostility as it let out a screech before it slowly unwrapped its wings from the vine. Master, it's going to attack. As soon as Little Black finished speaking, he instantly appeared in front of Shunlong. Now that the rock had noticed them, he knew that they couldn't avoid a fight. Shunlong was standing behind Little Black as he asked him through their mental connection. Little Black, can you pin it down just for 3 breaths of time? Little Black didn't know what plan Shunlong had, but he agreed without hesitation as he said. Leave it to me, master. The rock flapped its wings once, as it instantly appeared in front of Little Black and Shunlong, who were still situated at the end of the cave. Little Black flapped his wings as he took the rock head-on. However, the disparity in cultivation was too big, and Little Black was the one who suffered in the first exchange as he was sent flying, crashing into the inner walls of the mountain. The silver-winged rock didn't let up as it attacked the black dragon, continuously using its talons to tear off the dragon's flesh from his body. Little Black's body had turned bloodied as wounds appeared all over it, while even his scales were injured as they weren't enough to defend against the rock's onslaught. However, the dragon didn't even let out a single sound as he kept enduring the rock's violent attack. This was the pride of the king of magic beasts, who even in the face of death would never bow down. Shunlong, who had just retrieved a silver-white page from his spiritual space, looked at the scene and his eyes had instantly turned red. Little Black and Shunlong were sharing a spiritual bond, and that's why he knew what the dragon was thinking in his mind as the rock was destroying his body. Buy time for master, I need to buy more time for master. Shunlong raised his left hand as he slashed the space in front of him, creating a space tier big enough for him to walk inside. After Shunlong stepped inside, he had directly appeared above the rock's neck that was still attacking the black dragon relentlessly. Holding the silver-white page in his hand, he circulated his chi to activate it, and as a pair of white runes appeared on the page, Shunlong threw it straight at the rock's spine. Chapter 78 Absorbing the Vine. The silver page seemed as if it had automatically found its target, as it headed towards the rock's spine. As soon as it touched the rock though, it didn't pierce a hole in its body like Shunlong had expected. Instead, it looked as if the silver-white page had turned into something intangible after leaving Shunlong's hand, as it buried itself deep within the silver-winged rock's body. Screech! The rock cried out in agony after that silver-white page had entered its body. Letting out cries of indescribable pain, it didn't have any strength to keep attacking Little Black as it immediately collapsed to the ground. The black dragon, whose body had suffered terribly after the rock's onslaught, was still lying on the ground as well, when he saw Shunlong approaching him. Little Black tried to stand up, but the wounds he had suffered were just too heavy. Shunlong patted the dragon's head while his eyes had started to redden seeing the condition he was in after fighting the rock. Cuts were present all over his body, while blood was flowing from his mouth. Shunlong was also certain that even some of his internal organs were damaged, before he sent Little Black inside the Stone of Time. After handing a purple fruit with red lines on it to Little Black, along with 2 pieces of blood lotus, Shunlong said, "Directly eat this rank 2 purple fire fruit as well as these 2 pieces of blood lotus. They will stop your injuries, while I will make sure to refine a pill for you in a bit." Shunlong had picked this rank 2 purple fire fruit from the lush forest earlier along with a dozen more rank 2 medicinal herbs. He had also gathered the seeds from every fruit that he had obtained so far, including the rank 3 profound earth fruit, and had planted them all inside the Stone of Time. Although they hadn't matured yet, as Shunlong hadn't found the time to enhance their growth speed, it was only a matter of time until they did. Little Black seemed to be smiling as he instantly swallowed the purple fire fruit as well as the pieces of the rank 2 blood lotus. Although his strength was enough to match a middle rank 4 magic beast and rank 2 medicinal herbs shouldn't be of much use to him, the purple fire fruit's effects when combined with the blood lotus were enough to stop his injuries until Shunlong refined a medicinal pill for him. After handing the rank 2 herbs to Little Black, Shunlong turned his eyes to look at the silver-winged rock that was still writhing in pain on the ground. Half an hour later, the rock's cries had started to weaken as its struggle started to lessen. At the same time, Shunlong could feel that his connection with the silver-white page was becoming thinner by the second, and after an hour, at the same time as the rock stopped moving, the silver-white page had completely disintegrated inside its body. From the first time that the silver page had appeared inside his spiritual space, back in the Alchemist's Guild, Shunlong had instantly understood its use. It was a killing weapon that was meant to save his life once. The 9 meters 30 feet rock's body was now sprawled on the ground. Its red eyes that were still open had now completely lost their luster as its body didn't have the slightest trace of life in it anymore. Seeing the dead silver-winged rock in front of him, Shunlong touched its body without hesitation as he put it inside the Stone of Time. Then he completely turned his attention to the heaven-swallowing vine that was buried at the heart of the mountain. The biggest challenge was about to start now. The moment that Shunlong removed the heaven-swallowing vine from the central mountain, he expected pandemonium to take place in the central region. As soon as the magic beasts here noticed the absence of the silver-winged rock as well as the disappearance of the heaven-swallowing vine, all of them would definitely rush to the central mountain. And now that Little Black was hurt and couldn't fly, if even a middle rank 2 magic beast noticed Shunlong, he would be in danger. Since it's only a matter of time before the rank 4 beasts notice that the silver-winged rock has disappeared, there is no reason to hesitate. After all, I can't leave such a treasure here in the first place. Hearing Shunlong mumbling to himself, Little Black nodded his head as he agreed with him. That's right, Master, the magic beasts here have taken enough advantage of this heaven-swallowing vine. I'm actually curious as to how no high-level expert has noticed this place yet. Shunlong nodded his head at Little Black's words as he moved his hand towards the huge vine. As his hand came in contact with the green body of the vine, Shunlong felt an immense repelling force the moment he tried to put the vine inside the stone of time. After all, although the heaven-swallowing vine wasn't alive, it had its own spirit and understood that Shunlong was trying to store it inside a spiritual space. The heaven-swallowing vine burst forth with a blindingly bright green light that forced Shunlong to close his eyes. However, just as the vine's spirit started to resist, the stone of time also reacted, as it emitted an even stronger blue light that completely suppressed the heaven-swallowing vine. The 10 meters 33 feet vine was instantly absorbed inside the stone of time, but before Shunlong had any time to rejoice and check his spoils, Little Black's voice sounded inside his head as he said, "Master, I can sense a lot of magic beasts moving from the forest on our east, and they are all coming towards our direction." Chapter 79 A Way Out. Shunlong hadn't expected for the magic beasts to immediately react as soon as he took the heaven-swallowing vine from the central mountain. How many magic beasts are there? What about that four-winged ice bird? Master, it's coming as well. The middle rank 4 magic beast inside that lake, as well as the early rank 4 beast from the mountain next to the lake is also coming. Shunlong was stuck in an impossible position. Without Little Black, there was no way that he could escape before the rank 4 magic beasts arrived here. Every escape path was blocked as well. Stuck in this desperate situation, Shunlong tried his hardest to think for a way out when he suddenly remembered the layout of the central mountain. Looking around him, he asked Little Black, "Little Black, are you certain that the magic beasts below rank 5 can't use their soul to sense?" "Master, I am certain, but we don't have any more time to leave. The four-winged ice bird has almost arrived at the foot of the mountain. Even if we leave now, it's too late. I won't be able to see anything, so you have to guide me through this if we want to avoid all the magic beasts here." Little Black didn't understand what Shunlong was saying. His words made no sense, until he saw Shunlong looking around, before he entered in one of the caves that were inside the mountain's heart. This central mountain is full of caves, big and small. If I can navigate my way through them, with Little Black's help we can certainly leave. At the same time as Shunlong entered the cave, the middle rank 4 magic beast, the four-winged ice bird, had already reached the foot of the mountain as it was flying towards the huge entrance in the middle at breakneck speed. To these magic beasts living inside the demonic mountain region, nothing mattered as much as the heaven-swallowing vine. In the distance, more than a dozen rank 3 magic beasts could be seen leaving the forest as they all headed towards the central mountain. At the same time, a ferocious beast that resembled a crocodile could be seen running on all fours, as it emerged from the big lake while it too headed towards the mountain. From the smaller mountain on the left side of the lake, a 3 meters 10 feet tall spider was madly rushing towards them as well, but that was just the start. Hundreds of beasts from all over the central region were now also rushing towards the central mountain. Screech! The four-winged ice bird issued a loud cry as soon as it reached the heart of the mountain. Not only was the silver-winged rock missing, but their most important heaven-swallowing vine had disappeared along with it. As Shunlong had expected, the beasts that had just arrived at the foot of the mountain didn't head towards the mountain's heart, but instead entered from the many empty caves at the base, madly searching for the heaven-swallowing vine. Little Black, who was relaying the situation to Shunlong, was also calculating the routes to avoid the magic beasts inside. "Master, there are many beasts coming from our left side. Enter the second entrance from our right, and then directly the first entrance from the left." Although Little Black had his soul sense and could still guide Shunlong, there were just too many beasts inside the mountain at this point. Although the central mountain was huge, there was almost one beast in every entrance by now. "Master, we are in trouble. There is a middle rank 3 magic beast coming straight ahead of us, and there is no way to avoid it from the other caves." Shunlong was now very close to the foot of the mountain, but in the end, it seemed that they couldn't avoid every magic beast inside. Facing this situation, Shenlong's heart had turned cold. Could it be that there was no other choice than for them to fight here? Little Black's voice was then heard inside Shenlong's head. Master, I can leave the stone of time and kill it with my darkness fire, but... Shenlong shook his head as he replied. We will definitely be discovered then. I know. I also know the burden that it would place on you if you fought in your current condition. Stuck under this situation of extreme pressure, Shenlong tried his best to stay as calm as possible before he said. There is no other choice. We will either pull this off or we are doomed this time. Little Black, you have to tell me the exact moment when this magic beast enters a 40 m distance from us, and then again when it enters within a 20 m distance from us. Little Black wasn't sure what Shenlong was trying to do, but he agreed to his request regardless as he said. Master, right now it is 600 meters away from us. 500 m 400. 200 100. The magic beast was closing the distance between them extremely quickly. As this beast was approaching closer and closer, Shenlong tightly clenched his fists as he emptied his mind from all other thoughts. 80 meters. 60, Master. It is 40 m away from us. As soon as Little Black's voice sounded in his head, Shenlong punched the air in front of him and a spatial tier was forcibly opened. As soon as he created the space tier, Shenlong heard Little Black's voice in his head again saying. Master, it's within 20 meters. Shenlong instantly entered the space tier, while at the same time, the magic beast had just arrived in front of where he was just standing. His body had appeared 20 meters behind the beast, as he heard it while it was running deeper inside the mountain. The absolute darkness inside the cave had saved him from being noticed by this magic beast, and approximately an incense stick of times later, he had finally arrived back at the foot of the mountain. Chapter 80 Healing Little Black. Leaving the cave, Shenlong had finally arrived back at the foot of the mountain. As the starry sky shed some light to his surroundings, Shenlong heard Little Black's voice saying. Master, there are many magic beasts coming from both the forest on our left, as well as the mountain on our right. The rank 4 beasts are all inside the central mountain, so this is probably the best time for us to leave. Nodding his head, Shenlong headed directly towards the big lake in the middle. Since all of the beasts had now entered the central mountain, this was the best chance to leave this place. Running at full speed, Shenlong had quickly arrived in front of the lake as he directly dove inside. Since this lake was the territory of a magic beast that was infinitely close to the peak of rank 4, no other beast was living here, making it the best path for Shenlong to take to return back. While Shenlong was swimming through the lake, the magic beasts in the central region were swarming the lush forest in droves, as they were all heading towards the central mountain. Meanwhile, neither the magic beasts in the inner region, nor the big hots from the 4 sects at the demonic mountain region's entrance had noticed anything yet. After all, the fact that a heaven-swallowing vine existed in the depths of the central mountain was a closely guarded secret that the magic beasts had never allowed the humans to find. Although the 4 sects had their suspicions about a mysterious treasure existing at the heart of the central mountain, which increased the chi in the air of this region, they were unable to find out anything thanks to the silver-winged rock and the other powerful rank 4 magic beasts inside, that were guarding the vine with their lives. More and more disciples were gathering back at the entrance of the demonic mountain region, while the disciples that were deeper inside like Yang Ru and his group, or the 3 geniuses and their own groups, would take at least a few days to return. Nearly 2 hours later, Shenlong had already swam to the other side of the huge lake. Completely ignoring his clothes that were drenched in water, he rushed towards the inner region. The sun soon rose and a bit more than 6 hours had passed by since Shenlong had left the central mountain. After many hours of non-stop running and many detours to avoid the waves of magic beasts, he had managed to return back to the inner region. And yet, Shenlong was now exhausted both physically and mentally. Not having slept for so long, along with the stress from barely escaping the pandemonium in the central region, had really tired Shenlong out. After finding an isolated cave, he sealed the entrance with a big rock as he then immediately fell asleep. It was only after 10 hours that Shenlong had woken up. After waking up, the first thing he checked was Little Black's condition to make sure that his wounds hadn't reopened. After making sure that he was alright, Shenlong heaved a sigh of relief before he took out his cauldron from the Stone of Time. Taking out the beast core of the rank 3 man-eating tree, as well as a few other medicinal herbs, Shenlong threw them all inside the cauldron as he mumbled to himself. The man-eating tree is a magic beast of the wood element. Its beast core has plenty of wood energy inside, and it's brimming with vitality which will help you fully heal your injuries. Adding a stalk of a rank 2 ice grass along with the purple fire fruit will also enhance the pill's effectiveness. Since I don't have any better ingredients at hand, I have to at least create a high-grade rank 2 pill or its effect won't be enough to fully heal you. As Shenlong was mumbling to himself, his hands were also moving non-stop as he was adding the ingredients inside the cauldron. The rank 2 ice grass required Shenlong to be very careful with the cauldron's temperature or it could easily be destroyed, losing all its medicinal properties, while the purple fire fruit instead, needed a very high temperature to be properly refined into medicinal essence. Shenlong, who was aiming to create a high-grade rank 2 pill for Little Black, had to completely split his attention into 3 parts as he placed the ingredients inside the cauldron. The beast core of the man-eating tree, the ice grass, and the purple fire fruit had to all be refined at the same time as Shenlong merged their essence into one. If he failed to do so, part of their medicinal essence would be lost during the refinement process and he would at most create a middle rank 2 pill. Beads of sweat rolled off his forehead, as 30 minutes later, Shenlong had reached the most crucial part of the refining process. The cauldron had started to tremble as Shenlong was mixing the medicinal essence inside it. With the Monarch's domain though, he had managed to successfully finish the refinement. Opening the lid of the cauldron, Shenlong saw a bright green pill inside it. The pill had red and white lines on it and it was emitting a very refreshing smell. Shenlong smiled as he saw the high-grade rank 2 pill in his hands, before he handed it to Little Black. As Little Black consumed the pill, his internal injuries had already started to heal. His external injuries followed right after them and in just a few hours, his body had already been restored back in perfect condition. Laughing, the black dragon flew around the heaven-swallowing vine as he said, "Master, I feel really good. Even better than before actually. Now that we have this heaven-swallowing vine, our cultivation will surely advance greatly." Shenlong smiled as he watched Little Black eyeing the heaven-swallowing vine greedily, like a kid that had just discovered a treasure. Little Black, however, seemed as if he had just remembered something as he suddenly asked, "Master, do you really have to return to this floating cloud sect?" Chapter 81, The Sect's True Face. Shenlong was slightly taken aback by the dragon's sudden question. Thinking about it for a while, he nodded his head as he said, "For now, I have to return. I'm still not strong enough to even protect my parents, let alone establish a foothold for myself. I also don't know anything about the regions around the floating cloud sect. If it wasn't for the sect forcing the new outer disciples to participate in the sect examination, we wouldn't even have a clue about this demonic mountain region either. So for the time being, it's more beneficial for me to stay there." Little Black agreed with Shenlong's words. Even he had never heard of this floating cloud sect, so he had no idea where they were right now. Staying inside the sect and gathering more information was probably the best decision. Shenlong then thought for a bit before saying, "We have to quickly return to the safe area first. From there, I will head towards the entrance in the outer region alone. I guess that many disciples must have already gathered there by now." After Shenlong walked out of the cave, Little Black came out from the Stone of Time, as he unfurled his black wings and flew towards the safe area. While flying, Little Black was also using his soul sense at the same time, to see if there were any humans anywhere near them. However, they didn't find a single disciple from the 4 sects inside the inner region. After all, only a few elite groups like Yang Ru's senior sister, or the son of the sect master from the iron-hardened sect would dare to enter deep in the inner region in the first place, and even they had probably left already after the sect exam was officially cancelled. One day later Shun Long, who was flying on the black dragon's back, had arrived near the safe area. However, he had already noticed from the sky that the place had already been completely deserted. Landing near the safe area, Shun Long had Little Black return inside the Stone of Time before he continued on foot for the rest of the journey. With Little Black scanning the way with his soul sense, Shun Long didn't meet a single beast above the early rank 2 or any disciple from the 4 sections. After 3 days, he had returned back to the outskirts of the demonic mountain region. I am probably just a few hours away from the entrance. Shun Long inferred as he then remembered what Yang Ryu had told him while they were traveling together. Searching inside the Stone of Time, Shun Long grabbed the beast core of an early rank 2 bat, that Little Black had killed when they had hunted the rank 3 red-fanged flame bat in its cave, and put it inside his pocket. Then he proceeded to walk towards the demonic mountain region's entrance. 2 hours later, Shun Long had arrived in front of the entrance as he saw 4 huge rows of disciples queuing up in front of it. The disciples were all split according to their sect uniforms, and it seemed that at the start of each line, there was an elder from each sect, doing some sort of inspection. Shun Long walked at the end of the floating cloud sect's line as he stood behind a young man seemingly no older than 14 years old. Although Shun Long was relatively certain of what was happening, he still decided to ask the kid in front of him. "Junior brother, do you know what's happening in the front? Why do we have to line up here?" The young man looked at Shun Long, who had just queued up behind him nervously, as he clutched something in his hand before he responded. Actually, I heard from a senior sister that there is some inspection going on. I think that they are checking for what we acquired from the outer region and also count our survival points." The young man replied stutteringly when the voice of a young girl sounded from the front of the line as she was shouting pleadingly. "Please elder. I need this rank 2 water pearl to advance into the earth grade. I beg you don't take this from me." Shun Long looked at the young girl, who seemed to be around 16 years old and was clutching a pink pearl in her hands, as her eyes had turned red from tears. She was begging on her knees in front of the bald Elder Zhu. Elder Zhu, however, looked at her coldly as he forcefully snatched the pink pearl from her hands before he said, "It is thanks to the sect that you could even come here. Not only that, but the sect has helped nurture you since you arrived, and now you dare to deny when the sect is asking you for something? After all, I am not stealing this water pearl from you, but I am giving you sect points in return. This is a fair trade, you know." Shun Long snorted inwardly as he heard the bald Elder Zhu's words and thought, "What a joke. The sect has helped nurture the disciples? Everyone has to work to get any sect points in the floating cloud city. It's thanks to the sect that she managed to come here? Yes, she had to risk her life whether she agreed or not, as the sect forced her. You are not stealing from her? A fair trade, you say? She is clearly being forced to trade whether she agrees or not. So this is the true face of the floating cloud sect then." The line was slowly moving up, and people who seemed to be hiding something or didn't offer something of value by themselves, were personally searched by Elder Zhu regardless if they were men or women. 3 hours later, the line had come close to its end, and the person in front of Elder Zhu was now the young man who was in front of Shun Long. Chapter 82, Not First Place. Elder Zhu looked at the young man who had hidden his hands behind his back and just smirked as he said, "Show me your hands." The young man started sweating as he shook his head, but Elder Zhu just moved behind him as he pried open his hands and took a small beast core that this young man was holding. "Tisk, just a middle rank 1 beast core? Come here." As he heard Elder Zhu's voice, the young man took a step forward and Elder Zhu started his body search. After finding nothing else, Elder Zhu was disappointed. He then looked at the young man and said in a generous tone, "You are lucky, kid. I will give you 50 sect points for this beast core." The young man, however, shook his head at Elder Zhu. Elder Zhu then frowned as he asked in a commanding voice. What? Don't tell me that you don't want to exchange this small middle rank 1 beast core. Could it be that you want me to expel you from the sect then? If you keep refusing, I will have no other choice. The young man's face paled instantly as he heard about being expelled from the sect and hurriedly shook his head as he said. Elder, it's not that. I have just heard from a senior sister from the Flying Sword sect that, the elders of the 4 sects may not be fair to small disciples like me when they purchase our goods. The young man spoke weakly, and Elder Zhu looked towards the group of the Flying Sword sect in anger before he turned his attention to the young man in front of him and said. Who said that? Ask your fellow disciples here if I have treated any of them unfairly. As Elder Zhu finished speaking, he turned his head to look at the nearly 40,000 disciples of the Floating Cloud sect behind him, who then turned their heads away as if they didn't dare to make eye contact with him. Shunlong's mouth was agape at Elder Zhu's shamelessness. His face was probably thicker than the Floating Cloud city's walls, for him to be able to spout lies like that in broad daylight. A middle rank 1 beast core could easily be sold for 70 sect points in the treasure pavilion, and yet he was righteously purchasing it for 50 points here. Even Elder Lucheng and Grand Elder Lanhong felt their faces somewhat redden as they heard Elder Zhu's words. The young man suspiciously handed his middle rank 1 beast core to Elder Zhu, who then transferred him 50 sect points in his sect jade. As the young man had already lost his survival point long ago, he didn't get an extra 10 sect points from Elder Zhu. After patting this young man's shoulder, Elder Lu looked at the last person in the line, Shunlong. Shunlong shrugged in indifference as he took out a rank 2 early beast core, making everyone's eyes widen. Even the strongest people in this outer sect examination belonging to the Floating Cloud sect, like the peak rank 3 earth grade Guanhong, could at most kill an early rank 2 magic beast. Although they couldn't sense Shunlong's cultivation as he had completely hidden it with the Monarch's hourglass, most disciples thought that he must be a peak rank 3 earth grade expert who had hidden himself before the sect exam. After all, magic beasts at the middle of rank 2 and higher were strong enough to easily kill rank 4 earth grade experts, so an early rank 2 magic beast was the limit for these disciples. Although some disciples at the peak of rank 3 in earth grade could team up to defeat a middle rank 2 magic beast, the possibilities of killing the beast were almost nil. After all, defeating and killing a magic beast were two completely different things. Most disciples looked at Shunlong in pity. Being forced to give the beast core of a middle rank 2 magic beast that he had worked hard to kill must have been heart-tearing for him. Elder Zhu, however, looked at Shunlong with shining eyes as he patted his shoulder and said, Good job, this is how disciples of the sect should conduct themselves. Helping the sect is also helping yourself. Right, give me your sect identifying jade now. I will give you 1000 sect points for this beast core American Samoa, well as count your survival points. Shunlong handed his sect identifying jade to Elder Zhu, who after grabbing it was stumped for a good while. Taking another look at Shunlong's face, he asked seriously. What is your name, kid? Shunlong. You did very well. Elder Zhu then turned his head to look at the rest of the Floating Cloud sect's members as he said. The first place in our Floating Cloud sect belongs to Shunlong, who has gathered 118 survival points. Everyone from the Floating Cloud sect who heard this were shocked, including Elder Lucheng and Grand Elder Lanhong. The previous person in the first place had only gathered a bit more than 80 survival points. Among the group of shocked disciples were Xiao Shitu and Lin Wu, who looked at Shunlong incredulously. Due to the huge transformation that had occurred in his body thanks to the Monarch's eternal body, they only recognized him after Elder Zhu had called out his name. Lei Xiang and her followers, however, were the only ones who looked at Shunlong with eyes that were spitting fire when they remembered how Shunlong had robbed them of all their sect points back in the outer region. Aside from Lei Xiang, one more person looked at Shunlong with hostility, the red-haired Guanhong. Before Shunlong arrived, Guanhong was certain that he would obtain the 100 spirit stones that the sect would give to the first place winner along with a spatial ring when they returned. There was also the 100.000 sect points that the person who got first would also obtain. Although second place would only get 100 sect points less, there was a huge drop in prestige between being first or second from the section. A mocking voice, however, brought everyone from the Floating Cloud sect back in reality as the Grand Elder from the Flying Sword sect Hui Zhong looked at Grand Elder Lanhong and said, "Haha, congratulations Lanhong. It looks like your Floating Cloud sect managed to at least get the fourth place this time." Chapter 83 Challenge. Shunlong was shocked to find out that he had only won the fourth place. Based on his estimations, unless the three geniuses from the other three sects didn't head in the inner region at all and only hunted for sect points in the outer region, they shouldn't have been able to gather more points than him. Lanhong, however, looked at Hui Zhong with a mix of both anger and disdain as he said, "You really have the face to speak. Old man, I definitely didn't expect you to be so shameless. You actually had the disciples of your sect hand their survival points to your grandson and you still think that your family has any face left." Hui Zhong wasn't angered at all by Grand Elder Lanhong's insults. Instead he looked at him gloatingly as he said, "This is called strategy, old Lan. What do you know? If you were smart enough, you would have done the same as well as the rest of us." Shunlong finally understood what had happened. "Master, these people are too shameless." Little Black felt indignation for Shunlong. Shunlong, however, simply shook his head as he responded to him. "Although you could call them unfair or shameless, the fault still lies with the Floating Cloud sect. After all, for the other three sects to do the same thing under the Floating Cloud sect's nose is truly shameful for them. However, I do feel that it's a pity that I can't get my hands on that rank 3 blood vermilion fruit." The blood vermilion fruit would have really helped Shunlong advance in his cultivation by quite a bit. Grand Elder Lanhong looked at the group of the Floating Cloud sect and said, "We will wait here for 2 more days. If no disciple shows up after these 2 days, we will assume that they have died inside and will return back to the Floating Cloud city." After hearing Lanhong's command, the disciples set up camp outside the demonic mountain region. However, it seemed as if Shunlong was really among the last people that had left the region. In the next 2 days, very few disciples actually showed up, and Grand Elder Lanhong summoned everyone to return back to the Floating Cloud sect. "I expected less than 10,000 disciples to come back alive from this outer sect examination. I guess they are lucky that we had to cancel it ahead of time, or there would definitely have been more than just 20,000 that died this time." Elder Zhu was chatting with Elder Lu as they were heading back to the Floating Cloud sect. Their return journey was just as peaceful as the first one, and 7 days later, they had arrived outside the Floating Cloud city. The people inside the city were startled to see the huge group of new disciples returning back to the section. Usually, the outer sect examination was extremely bloody and only half of the disciples that set out would return alive. However, this year should have been even bloodier as it was the joint sect exam between the 4 sects. And yet, more than half of the disciples had returned back alive, and most importantly, ahead of time. Not even a month had passed since the Grand Elders group had set out. And yet they had already returned back to the sect. Something must have definitely happened. The disciples inside the demonic mountain region that participated in the sect exam, had also asked the Grand Elder why they were called out prematurely, but the Elder simply didn't answer. After entering the city, Elder Lu Cheng called for the disciples to disperse while he had Shunlong, Guanhong, and a female disciple called Fen Licking that was also at the peak of rank 3 in Earth grade, to come to the administration building with him to obtain their rewards. Following the Grand Elder and the other 2 elders, Shunlong soon arrived in front of the huge administration building. Inside, the disciples hurriedly bowed to the Grand Elder, who directly asked to meet Administrator Feng. A middle-aged man could be seen running from the distance, as he soon arrived in front of the Grand Elder and politely greeted. Greetings to the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder, Lan Hong, nodded his head at Administrator Feng, who looked at him puzzledly, obviously wondering why they had returned back to the sect so soon, when he said, "Xiao Feng, give them the prizes for the top 3. First place is Shun Long, second place is Guan Hong, and third place is Fen Licking," Lan Hong said as he introduced the disciples to Administrator Feng one by one. It seemed that neither Lu Cheng, nor Administrator Feng, whom Shun Long had met in the past, realized who he was. Administrator Feng handed Shun Long and the rest a silver ring, that was identical to his own. This was a spatial ring that only people with status could have in the sect. After transferring the sect points to their sect jades, Administrator Feng also handed 100 spirit stones to Shun Long as he said in an envious tone, "Ha, 100 spirit stones is really not a small sum." Shun Long nodded his head at Administrator Feng without really paying much attention to his words when Grand Elder Lan Hong suddenly ordered them to leave as he had some matters to discuss with Administrator Feng. Not just Shun Long and the rest, the entire third floor of the administration building was quickly cleared from all the disciples. Only the Grand Elder, the administrator, and the 2 elders were left inside. As they left the building, Guan Hong turned his head at Shun Long and said, "I don't know where you came from or how you gathered so many sect points, but I have my eye on you now. You better not become a laughingstock and forfeit when I challenge you in the arena in the upcoming days." Shun Long looked at Guan Hong inquiringly, but Guan Hong simply snorted and left. Fen Licking also cupped her fists at Shun Long before she went on her own way. Shun Long then decided to rent a room in the most expensive pavilion inside the outer city, the Mystifying Fragrance Pavilion. Chapter 84, Subduing the Heaven-Swallowing Vine. The Mystifying Fragrance Pavilion wasn't only a restaurant, but disciples could also rent rooms to stay there if they had the required sect point. The pavilion had 6 floors overall. However, only the first 3 could be used to dine. The other 3 were reserved for the disciples who decided to stay there. Walking towards the east of the city, Shun Long quickly arrived in front of the Mystifying Fragrance Pavilion. The pavilion was actually located just a 10-minute walk away from the Arena American Samoa Well. Walking through the pavilion's golden gates, Shun Long was soon greeted by a male waiter who asked him to take his order. Shun Long, however, shook his head as he said, "I am here to rent a room." The waiter was startled. Rarely would anyone come to the Mystifying Fragrance Pavilion to rent a room. It wasn't that their rooms were of low quality. No, it was simply a difference in price. A room in a random inn anywhere in the floating cloud city would cost you anywhere from 4 to 8 sect points for a month's stay. The Mystifying Fragrance Pavilion, however, priced its rooms starting at 100 sect points for each month. The waiter, who looked like he seemed to be in his early 20s, looked at Shun Long as he nodded his head and said, "Each room in our pavilion's 4th floor costs 100 sect points for a month's stay. The 5th floor rooms are priced at 150 sect points a month, while the rooms on the 6th floor cost 200 sect points. Of course, the rooms on the 6th floor are much better than the rooms at the 5th or the 4th floor. Our pavilion had a rank 1 silver grade formation master personally inscribe runes to every room on the 6th floor, making cultivation inside them to be much faster compared to any other place inside the outer section." "Oh." Shun Long was intrigued as he then said, "I am curious to see how good a room inscribed with the runes of a rank 1 silver grade formation master actually is." As he finished speaking, Shun Long took out his sect identifying jade and transferred 200 sect points to the waiter. The waiter bowed as he led Shun Long towards the 6th floor. Someone who could pay 200 sect points to rent a room for 1 month definitely wasn't a nobody. Arriving on the 4th floor, Shun Long only saw closed doors compared to the previous 3 floors where there were tables and chairs everywhere on the floor. On the 5th floor, the number of rooms seemed to be less than those of the 4th floor, while when Shun Long arrived on the 6th floor, he only saw 6 doors. The waiter looked at Shun Long and said, "Dear guest, you only have to put your sect identifying jade on the door and it will recognize you as the owner of the room for the next 1 month. Shunlong nodded his head as he pressed his sec jade on top of the door, and after a small buzzing noise sounded, the door opened to reveal a luxurious room inside. Seeing that Shunlong had opened the door, the waiter bowed and left the floor. Entering inside the room, Shunlong was stunned by its interior. Although the chi inside the room wasn't as good as the inner region of the demonic mountain region, it was almost on par with the safe area there. The room had a big bed in the middle, while from the wooden window on the wall, Shunlong could even see the arena that was close to the mystifying fragrance pavilion. There were even two special rooms inside, one specially made for formation masters while the other one was for alchemists. The room for formation masters had a large hammer as well as a small knife along with some other stuff inside it, while the room for alchemists had a pinnacle rank 3 cauldron that was actually on par with Shunlong's own. Ignoring everything else, Shunlong directly sat cross-legged on the bed as he sent his spiritual strength inside the Stone of Time. In the 9 days that Shunlong stayed outside of the demonic mountain region, he had already reached the peak of rank 8 in chi condensation and was just a step away from the 9th rank. Since he wasn't in a secluded environment though, he hadn't dared to mess with the heaven-swallowing vine these days, and had simply let Little Black absorb the pure chi that the vine was emitting. Now however, Shunlong sat down as his mind entered the Stone of Time. Sending his spiritual strength towards the heaven-swallowing vine, Shunlong noticed that the vine immediately turned to absorb his spiritual strength as if it was some sort of food. This was the way for Shunlong to connect with the vine. Sending his spiritual strength to it, would let the vine become more familiar with Shunlong. The heaven-swallowing vine could absorb almost every kind of energy and turn them into pure chi. And yet it felt like Shunlong was trying to fill a bottomless hole no matter how much spiritual strength he was sending in. After a full hour, the vine finally stopped sapping his spiritual strength as it became completely docile to him. Even with Shunlong's strength though that was on par with the rank 3 alchemists, after a full hour he was completely spent as he lied down on the bed. Little Black laughed after seeing that the vine inside the Stone of Time had now become completely obedient and said happily, "Congratulations, Master. This is a true heavenly treasure that will surely raise our strength. It was truly a waste for that silver-winged rock to hold on to such a priceless treasure. After absorbing some chi in these 9 days I can already feel that I am close to another breakthrough, and my strength will definitely reach the peak of rank 4 by then." Shunlong smiled as he heard Little Black's words, and after sitting cross-legged for a couple of hours to recover his spent spiritual strength, he mumbled to himself, "Little Black, let's see the effects of the heaven-swallowing vine now." Chapter 85 The Heaven-Swallowing Vine's Effects. Little Black's eyes shone as he heard Shunlong's words, while Shunlong sent a mental order to the heaven-swallowing vine to start absorbing the chi in the air around him. Shunlong knew that the heaven-swallowing vine had a lot of chi inside it that it had absorbed over the years, and every 30 years it would usually discharge it in the demonic mountain region. Now however that Shunlong had taken the vine from the central mountain and had formed a mental connection with it, he could choose when the vine would discharge this pure chi. However, Shunlong didn't want to have the vine discharge its chi recklessly like that. If the silver-winged rock could control the heaven-swallowing vine and slowly absorb the chi for itself instead of having it discharge it all in the environment of the demonic mountain region, the rock would have long since broken through to the 5th rank. Shunlong didn't touch the chi reserves that the vine had inside it. He decided that it was better to use that chi when he was about to break through the earth grade. The heaven-swallowing vine then started absorbing the chi around Shunlong. During this time, Shunlong could feel that the vine was practically filtering the chi, condensing it more and more before it released it inside the Stone of Time. Shunlong activated the Monarch's domain as he started absorbing the pure chi that the vine was releasing. As time went by, Shunlong absorbed more and more chi as he tried to create his 73rd ball of chi and enter the early rank 9 in chi condensation. The more that Shunlong advanced in his cultivation, the harder it became to advance into the next level. However, with the heaven-swallowing vine, the chi he was absorbing was simply incomparable to before. Soon, 12 hours had passed since Shenlong had started refining the qi that the heaven-swallowing vine was incessantly producing when a small popping sound could be heard from his body as he was still circulating the monarch's hourglass. In just 6 hours he had entered the early rank 9 in qi condensation. However, Shenlong didn't stop refining the qi even after his breakthrough. Instead, he started absorbing even more of it. After 12 hours had passed since he had started cultivating, Shenlong had entered the middle rank 9 and yet his cultivation still didn't show any signs of stopping. Almost a full day later Shenlong had finally created his 81st ball of qi, reaching the peak of qi condensation. Only then did Shenlong stop absorbing any more qi from the heaven-swallowing vine. There was no way to create another ball of qi as the monarch's hourglass above his head was already full. However, after creating the 81st ball of qi, Shenlong noticed that there were inconsistencies in his previous balls of qi. The balls of qi he had created towards the latter parts of the qi condensation, were much purer and brighter than the earlier ones. To reach the earth grade, Shenlong had to condense all his previous balls of qi into one. However, the strength of his first ball of qi when he reached the earth grade would be dependent on the strength of his previous balls of qi before they were merged together. Taking a deep breath, Shenlong started absorbing qi from the heaven-swallowing vine once more. He was ready to purify all of his previous balls of qi, bringing them at the same quality as the last one he had condensed. As Shenlong had started purifying his qi balls one by one, the entire floating cloud sect's upper echelons had another meeting inside the main hall of the inner city. These meetings, where every high-ranked elder of the sect was summoned, were supposed to be extremely rare, and unless the sect was facing an extremely serious situation they would never happen. And yet, around 2 months ago, they had started their first meeting thanks to the mysterious expert who had appeared in the treasure pavilion, and now, they started the second one. The sect master Lu Jian was sitting on the main seat, while everyone's eyes had turned towards Grand Elder Lan Hong, the bald Elder Zhu and Elder Lu Cheng. Grand Elder, what happened for you to summon another sect meeting? Grand Elder, weren't you supposed to be in the demonic mountain region? Did something happen there? I heard that Grand Elder brought back more than 40,000 disciples this time from the outer sect examination. Discussions and questions were being thrown around the hall when Lu Jian raised his hand and said, "Silence." The discussions immediately stopped as Lu Jian continued. The Grand Elder must definitely have a good reason to summon everyone for a sect meeting. Everyone looked at Lan Hong, who then started explaining the situation at the demonic mountain region. At the same time, the exact same situation was taking place in the other 3 sects as well. The representatives of the 4 sects that had been in the demonic mountain region this time, had been startled by the silver-winged rock's cry. If something had happened to the rock, then perhaps the sects would have a chance to head to the central mountain and get a hold of the treasure there. After Lan Hong had explained everything, there was absolute silence in the main hall as everyone's eyes had turned to Lu Jian on the main seat. Lu Jian wore a serious expression on his face as he said, "I will have to discuss this with De Chao and the rest. This is a serious matter that requires a lot of thought. Even if something had happened to that silver-winged rock and caused it to be injured, there are still other middle rank 4 magic beasts inside the central region. And in case that the rock is actually alright, then stepping foot in that hellhole will mean death for us." The elders wore serious expressions as well, when they heard Lu Jian's words, who was ready to meet up with the other sect masters and discuss about what course of action they should take. After all, a single floating cloud sect couldn't swallow the entire demonic mountain region, no matter how big their appetite was. Almost a month quickly went by while Shenlong was in seclusion, and serious changes had occurred in the sect, when he finally opened his eyes. Chapter 86, Sharing the Pills. After 1 month, Shenlong had finally purified all of his 80 balls of qi, bringing them to the level of the 81st. This was the absolute peak of qi condensation. His cultivation now was just a step from entering the earth grade, while his strength would probably easily destroy any peak rank 3 earth grade cultivator. Although Shunlong was just a step away from reaching the Earth grade, he was first planning to make a trip to the treasure pavilion and purchase some ingredients, before attempting his breakthrough. Just as Shunlong reached the third floor of the mystifying fragrance pavilion, however, the familiar silhouette of a fat young man dressed in green robes could be seen rushing at him before that person asked in a somewhat confused voice. "Bro, brother." Shunlong looked at this person and smiled as he nodded his head. This familiar person was Fatty Fu, and he was looking at Shunlong slightly dazed. The last time that these two had met was 2 months before the outer sect examination. However, just before the sect examination had started, Shunlong had refined the rank 2 inner destruction pill and his body had changed from the inside out, bringing a huge transformation to his outer appearance. Shocked, Fatty Fu looked at him from close up, and after making sure that he was truly Shunlong, he said, "Brother, your face seems to have changed." Shunlong nodded his head, as he smiled and walked towards an empty table. He gestured for Fatty to sit as well before calling over a waiter and saying, "Bring us 2 jars of mystifying fragrance wine. I'm also staying in a room on the 6th floor. Here are 4,400 sect points for the wine and for 2 months of payment for my room in advance." The waiter bowed as he received the 4,400 sect points and hurried to bring Shunlong's order, while Fatty Fu was looking at Shunlong with a wide open mouth before he asked, "Brother, where did you find so many sect points?" Shunlong smiled as he opened his jar of wine, before he started explaining to Fatty Fu that he had gotten first place in the outer sect examination. Aside from some secrets that involved Little Black, the central region, the profound earth fruit, and of course the heaven-swallowing vine, Shunlong recounted most of his experiences inside the demonic mountain region to Fatty Fu. Nevertheless, Fatty Fu was still extremely shocked when he heard that Shunlong had taken first place in the sect on this outer sect examination. "Brother, I still can't believe that you managed to get first place when there were even peak rank 3 earth grade disciples participating. Lu Wen will definitely be happy when he finds out about this too. Right, have you been in seclusion since you returned from the demonic mountain region?" Shunlong nodded his head at Fatty Fu's sudden question, who then continued, "In that case, let me fill you in on some things that you probably are unaware of. First of all, Lu Wen is in seclusion after his grandfather gave him the Golden Eagle Spirit Nourishing Pill, and if he successfully refines it, he will probably be on par with rank 3 bronze grade alchemists." Fatty then took a sip from his wine before leaning towards the table and lowering his voice as he continued speaking. "The next 2 things I'm going to tell you are extremely important. Firstly, I heard from my father that the Floating Cloud sect is going to ally with the other 3 sects that were in the demonic mountain region this time, and asking for the help of another very strong power. They want to probe the demonic mountain region. But since this mostly affects the upper echelons of the sect, it is useless for us to worry about it." Shunlong nodded his head as Fatty Fu continued. "Remember how I told you that you need to enter the top 100 ranks in the arena if you wish to have a chance to become an inner disciple? Well, my father said that in the next few months, a secret realm will open and that it's the chance of a lifetime for us. There will be many precious treasures inside, and even some elders of the sect will enter along with the disciples. However, although all of the inner disciples will be able to enter the secret realm, only the top 100 from the outer disciples will be allowed to enter." As he finished speaking, Fatty Fu took out 2 bottles of pills as he pushed them towards Shunlong and said, "These are half of the rank 2 congealing chi pills that my father has given me to reach the peak of the earth grade. Although half of them won't be enough to reach the peak of the earth grade, I hope that after refining them, you can reach at least the late stages of the earth grade, brother. Then we can enter the secret realm together." Fatty Fu saw that Shunlong didn't accept the 2 bottles of pills yet and said, "If you consider me your brother, then you have to accept the pills no matter what." Shunlong, however, shook his head as he smiled and simply said, "Thank you, brother." He then pushed the bottle of pills back to Fatty Fu as he said, "It's because I truly consider you my brother that I won't accept these." Shunlong now clearly understood Fatty's character even more than before. This gesture from Fatty couldn't be counted with money or with anything else. This was genuine brotherhood. Shunlong, however, had the heaven-swallowing vine, as well as enough medicinal ingredients to refine pills. Thus he had to give a good reason why he couldn't accept the congealing chi pills, one that Fu Li couldn't deny. Don't misunderstand Fatty, I will definitely do my best to enter the top 100 in the arena ranks in the next few months. The truth is, however, that I am mainly a body refining cultivator, so pills that aren't specifically meant for body refiners can't help me advance. Don't worry, soon I will be able to concoct some rank 2 bone tempering pills or even some marrow cleansing pills for myself. Fatty Fu was stunned when Shunlong continued. I need to make a trip to the treasure pavilion and purchase a few ingredients before entering seclusion once again. Chapter 87, Meeting Liu Ming again. Fatty Fu then stood up as he quickly gulped down the rest of the wine in his jar before saying, Great. I also wanted to see my Jinjing. Shunlong looked at him questioningly when Fatty suddenly cleared his throat and said, Cough. What I meant was that it's better for me to accompany you and help you get a discount on the things that you want to purchase, brother. This is what brothers are for, right? Shunlong snorted, before also cracking a smile seeing Fatty's antics and said, Okay then, let's go together. Also, who is that Jinjing of yours? As they walked towards the treasure pavilion, Fatty Fu puffed out his chest as he heard Shunlong's question and responded proudly. It's my beautiful fiancée. You have also seen her before, back in the Alchemist's Guild. Shunlong tried to think for a while, and as he recalled the time when he had visited the Alchemist's Guild, a crazy idea swept through his mind as he looked at Fatty Fi and asked in a voice filled with disbelief. Fatty. You, don't tell me that your fiancée is Lan Jinjing from the treasure pavilion. Fatty Fu started laughing proudly as he said. Of course, who do you think this young master is? Her Lan and my Fu family have had a great relationship for many years. Actually, there are 5 main families that have the most power in the floating cloud sect. My Fu family and the Lan family are among those 5. The other 3 are the Liu family, which Liu Wen comes from, the Meng family, and lastly the most powerful one is the family of the sect master, the Liu family. Every family has many powerful experts and most of them are high-rank elders inside the section. Just as Fatty Fu finished speaking, they had already arrived outside of the treasure pavilion. As soon as they entered, the staff of the pavilion greeted Fatty Fu respectfully as Auctioneer Fu. Fu Li happily accepted everyone's greetings as he nodded while he took Shunlong deeper inside the treasure pavilion. After arriving on the 2nd floor, Fatty didn't stop as he continued straight towards the 3rd. The 3rd floor of the treasure pavilion was exclusive only for people with high status inside the sect. Of course, as the heir to the Fu family, Fatty Fu had no problem going upstairs and bringing people with him. Shunlong could also enter by himself using the VIP card that he had received from Yin Xing, but since he wasn't wearing his black robes he simply followed Fatty Fu. Entering the 3rd floor, Shunlong noticed that the items on display here were much better than the previous 2 floors. There were even parts of rank 3 magic beasts that were for sale. Shunlong even saw the beast core of a rank 3 red-scaled python being sold for 37.000 sect points. Fatty Fu looked at Shunlong and said, The best things of the treasure pavilion are always in this floor. There are even some things that you may not find in the auctions here. Fatty Fu followed Shunlong as he looked for medicinal herbs. Stopping in front of a certain counter, Shunlong was slightly taken aback as he looked at the price of a certain rank 3 medicinal herb. Oh, a rank 3 purple fragrant grass. I will take this stock. Shunlong said to the young man behind the counter whose eyes lit up as he heard him. Although the purple fragrant grass was a rank 3 medicinal herb, the truth was that nobody wanted to purchase it. Hence, even though it was a rank 3 medicinal ingredient, the treasure pavilion had priced it at only 1,000 sect points. The reason that nobody purchased the purple fragrant grass was because it was practically useless for alchemy. It couldn't be used as the main ingredient to concoct pills, and it could only be used as a side ingredient to improve the pill's fragrance, hence why no one had bothered to buy it. Shunlong, however, had some special plans for it as soon as he saw the grass. Looking around the third floor, Shunlong also found some more medicinal ingredients that interested him, and after 2 hours, he had spent almost 15,000 sect points. As Shunlong and Fatty Fu were looking around the third floor, the door of one of the private rooms opened, and a pair of beautiful women attracted everyone's attention as they walked side by side. Both women were around the same height as Shunlong, and they seemed to be wearing the green robes of an inner sect disciple. Behind the two women was a handsome young man in green clothes around 19 years old, who seemed to be fawning over one of the two women. Shunlong too had turned his attention towards them as well, and surprisingly, both women were also looking towards him and Fatty Fu. Fatty Fu smiled brightly as he exclaimed happily, "Jinjing." These two were the most beautiful women in the floating cloud city, Lan Jinjing and Liu Ming. Lan Jinjing was a bit annoyed as she looked at Fatty Fu, but when she thought that he could take care of the guy pestering her senior sister, her eyes lit up as she told him, "Fu Li, come here." Fatty Fu smiled brightly as he hurriedly grabbed Shunlong's and brought him along to introduce him. "Brother, this is my fiancée, Jinjing. Jinjing, this is my brother Shun. You and sister Liu have also briefly met him before at the Alchemist's Guild." Lan Jinjing and Liu Mei were astonished to see Fatty Fu bringing someone with him. As the young master of the Fu family, Fu Li didn't have that many people that he called friends and even fewer that he called brothers. Given his frank character, bringing someone along with him, and especially one that he called brother, meant that he must have a really good relationship with this person. Lan Jinjing and Liu Mei both scrutinized Shunlong with their gazes, trying to see when they had met this handsome man before. Shunlong's and Liu Mei's gazes met, and he was once again mesmerized by her beautiful black eyes and peerlessly beautiful face. Liu Mei was also stunned for a second as her gaze was attracted by Shunlong's deep eyes, when a sudden voice came from the young man behind her, drawing everyone's attention as he said, "Fu Li, stop spouting nonsense. How could just any stray dog know Sister Mei?" Chapter 88, Liu Mei's Troubles. Everyone's attention had turned to this young man who was looking at Shunlong with a hostile gaze. He had caught him looking at Liu Mei, but what had frustrated him even more was that Liu Mei seemed to be dazed for a second looking at him as well. The cold and proud Liu Mei, who had never showed him any special attention, had her gaze glued to another man. Fatty Fu was the first to react as he looked at this man, and in a voice full of anger he said, "Meng Shenji, you pathetic bootlicker, how dare you insult my brother? Why is trash like you even following Sister Liu and my Jinjing anyway?" The young master of the Meng family was furious after hearing Fatty Fu's insulting words, but before he could even respond to him, Liu Mei's cold voice sounded as she said, "Young Master Meng, please don't call me Sister Mei as if we are intimate together. You and I barely know each other." Liu Mei was extremely annoyed by Meng Shenji's words. Although he had occasionally pestered her privately, calling her Sister Mei, even though she had expressed her dislike numerous times, calling her like that in public was almost hinting that they were closer than they really are. However, although Liu Mei disliked Meng Shenji, she had her own personal problems as well. Lan Jinjing, however, gave a thumbs up to Fatty Fu secretly as she then said, "Senior sister, I had an appointment with Fu Li today, can you please accompany me?" Liu Mei nodded her head at Lan Jinjing as they followed behind Fu Li, who was heading with Shunlong towards one of the private rooms in the back. Meanwhile, Meng Shenji was still like a statue in the middle of the third floor, as everyone watched him being left alone. His face had turned scarlet, unknown if he was embarrassed or angry, as he looked at Liu Mei's and Lan Jinjing's back thoughtfully before he turned to leave the floor, while he thought to himself, "Liu Mei, you ungrateful bitch. I have been chasing you for over a year and yet you still refuse to acknowledge me even after all of my sincerity. Watch how I make you pay in the future." As Meng Shenji left the third floor of the treasure pavilion, Fu Lei and Shun Long along with the two girls had just entered in one of the private rooms near the back. As soon as the door closed, Lan Jinjing started laughing as she said, "Fu Lei, good job. Although you can be considered a lazy pig most of the time and Grandpa Fu is right to beat you, you really made me happy today seeing Meng Shenji's bitter face like that." Liu Mei was also smiling as she heard that while Fu Lei had a serious expression on his face as he asked Lan Jinjing. "Meng Shenji can be a real problem for Sister Liu though. He has been trying to court her for such a long time, and his father has even asked for permission from the sect master. Although the sect master said that he will consider this matter, wasn't today equivalent of slapping Meng Shenji in the face?" Lan Jinjing seemed as if she wanted to say something, but she then looked warily at Shun Long before she threw a look at Fatty Fu. Fatty Fu understood her meaning as he said, "This is my brother Shun Long Jinjing, you don't have to look warily at him. You had also seen him when he had come in conflict inside the Alchemist's Guild with that Bulletin Duyi. Anyways, he is my brother, you don't have to worry about anything and can speak freely." Lan Jinjing and Liu Mei turned to look at Shun Long in astonishment as they suddenly remembered that scene from 4 months ago in the Alchemist's Guild. Liu Mei then smiled as she looked at Shun Long and said, "So that's why you look somewhat familiar." Seeing Liu Mei's beautiful smile, Shun Long felt his heart stirring for a few moments. However, despite her enchanting appearance and even though he had a relatively good opinion of her, Shun Long wasn't going to judge a woman simply based on her looks. Lan Jinjing nodded her head and looked at Fatty Fu as she said, "Since no one of us here have any connections with the Meng family, I will speak freely. Although Meng Shenji is an eyesore and has pestered senior sister a lot, we have put up with him since his Meng family has a good relationship with their Liu family. However, today he declared to senior sister, that he will bring his father and officially ask for senior sister's hand in marriage in a few months. Senior sister said that she doesn't intend to marry him, and yet all he said was that it doesn't matter as they can learn to love each other in the future." As soon as Lan Jinjing finished speaking, silence permeated the room for a while until Liu Mei looked at Lan Jinjing and said, "It's okay, I will return and speak to my father about this. I think that he will understand." "But senior sister, no need to worry, I understand what you want to say, but you also know the position that I am in." Lan Jinjing nodded her head and didn't continue to speak. Liu Mei looked at Shun Long's eyes and noticed that his eyes were also looking at hers with hints of curiosity as well as interest inside them. Liu Mei blushed and bowed her head at him as she said, "I apologize if I have caused you any trouble." Shun Long shook his head as he smiled at her while Fu Lei responded happily, "No trouble Sister Liu, no trouble at all. Of course she didn't cause you any trouble Fu Lei." Lan Jinjing looked at Fu Lei as she spoke matter-of-factly before hooking her arm around Liu Mei's. After the two women bade their farewells and left hurriedly to find Liu Mei's father, Fu Lei turned his head to look at Shun Long and asked, "Brother Shun, have you fallen for Sister Liu?" Chapter 89 Undercurrents in the Floating Cloud Sect. Shun Long smiled as he shook his head and said, "I don't know if I have fallen for her, but I am definitely interested in her." "Haha, but I think that Sister Liu has definitely fallen for Brother Shun. I saw how her gaze was locked at you the entire time we were speaking." "Haha, congratulations brother. I as your brother will definitely support you." However, Fatty Fu's expression turned serious as he remembered something and said, "However, brother, if you really want to court Sister Liu, then it will definitely be very hard. Putting aside Meng Shenji, that piece of trash from the Meng family, Sister Liu has many admirers even inside the inner sect. And although she definitely seemed to be interested in you, her opinion actually won't matter at all." Shun Long looked at Fatty Fu puzzledly, who then continued explaining. "Right now, if it's true that Meng Shenji said that he will bring his father and propose to Sister Liu's father, then he will definitely accept. Sister Liu's father is the sect master and his Liu family has always had good relations with the Meng family." Shun Long then couldn't help but ask, Even if they have good relations and even if her father is the sect master, is it worth to sacrifice his daughter's happiness if she doesn't want to marry someone? After all, since the Liu family is the strongest in the floating cloud sect, then the Meng family shouldn't be able to pressure the sect master into marrying his daughter. Fatty Fu shook his head as he then said, "You are right, brother. However, things aren't as simple as they seem. In reality, although Sister Liu Mei's status in the sect is second to no one as the daughter of the sect master, there is a known rumor going around inside the powerful families of the section. It is said that Sister Liu's elder brother hates her a lot, since a little more than a year ago, when his best friend, the third son of the Flying Sword sect master came to ask for her hand in marriage, she directly refused him, saying that she doesn't want to marry him and that she will be the one who will choose who she marries. Ever since then, Liu Changpun, Sister Liu's elder brother, has had very strained relationships with the Flying Sword sect. Since Sister Liu's elder brother is the son of the sect master's first wife and he is also going to become the next sect master, his opinion is taken very seriously by the sect master. Because of his extraordinary talent, the sect master views him even more importantly than the sect itself. Meanwhile, although Sister Liu is the child that the sect master had with his second wife, her status in the sect is far below her elder brother's. Lately, the Meng family is also said to have come very close to Liu Changpu as well, so if he really decides to intervene on Meng Shenji's behalf, considering how much the sect master listens to him, there is a very high chance that the marriage will actually go through. Master, if you want this Liu girl, then you don't really need to care about anyone and what they think. If worse comes to worse, then I can come out and destroy everyone here. Shunlong smiled as he heard Little Black's suggestion and said as he looked at Fu Li, "Fatty, do me a favor. I'm planning to enter seclusion, so keep an eye on Liu Mei's situation and if something really happens, send someone to let me know. The truth is that I am really interested in her and I don't want someone else to get her." Ha ha ha, that's the spirit. I was already going to keep an eye on the situation anyway. The truth is that my family as well as the Lius and the Ians don't want for Sister Liu to get married to the Meng family, so if something really happens, they will all definitely oppose it. This concerns the balance of power in the floating cloud sect after all. Rest assured. If something really ends up happening, then I will send someone to let you know, brother. Also, since I have told my grandfather about you, he said that he wants to meet this brother of mine who has such an amazing talent, so when you are free you should come with me to the inner city. Thank you, brother. For now, I still have to enter seclusion and increase my strength if I want to reach the top 100 in the arena and enter the secret realm, but you can tell your grandfather that I will definitely come and visit in the future. After bidding farewell to Fatty, Shunlong decided to directly return to the mystifying fragrance pavilion. As he entered his room, Shunlong sat down cross-legged on his bed and he seemed to have remembered something as he took a look inside the spatial ring that Administrator Feng had given to him as his reward. The space inside this spatial ring wasn't big, barely 10 square meters big, and as expected, a black dagger with small runes on its surface was inside it. It was obvious just from its aura that this dagger was a silver-grade weapon. I guess that's the reward for entering the top 10. A weapon from a silver-grade formation master. It's too bad that I am not proficient in any weapon, so this dagger is useless to me for now. After putting the dagger back in his spatial ring, Shunlong planted everything that he had purchased today from the treasure pavilion inside the Stone of Time before he said, "Little Black, as I attempt to break through to the Earth grade this time, you should also try to break through as well. The chi inside the heaven-swallowing vine is more than enough for both of us." As Shunlong finished speaking, he sent a mental message to the vine, to release part of its stored chi inside the Stone of Time. Activating the Monarch's hourglass, Shunlong's body greedily absorbed the pure chi from the heaven-swallowing vine as he started his breakthrough. Chapter 90, Breakthrough to the Earth Grade. The heaven-swallowing vine was constantly filling the Stone of Time with its pure chi, while Shunlong was greedily absorbing as much as his body could handle. At the same time, in the Monarch's hourglass, The 81 balls of qi were being compressed again and again. Shunlong's aim was to compress them all into one ball of qi that would contain even more power than the 81 balls combined. Shunlong was surprised to find out that, the pure qi from the vine was even more potent than what he had originally estimated. Little Black also listened to Shunlong as he too started to absorb the qi from the heaven-swallowing vine around him. After 3 hours, Little Black had absorbed nearly 1/3 of the pure qi inside the Stone of Time, until he finally started his breakthrough to rank 4. In reality, Little Black was close to breaking through even without the heaven-swallowing vine. However, it would have taken him at least 2 more months to reach that point. Meanwhile, inside Shunlong's body, the 81 balls of qi had been compressed down to just 3. The energy inside these 3 balls of qi was so powerful that Shunlong was finding it hard to keep them under control as he tried to merge them into one. Sweat had started dripping from his head as he had now reached the most crucial phase of his breakthrough. His mind was entirely focused on merging the 3 balls of qi into one. This process required absolute focus, and every second felt like an eternity. Seconds turned to minutes, and minutes slowly turned into hours. Almost 1 full day had passed, and inside the Stone of Time, above Shunlong's head, there weren't 3 white balls of qi in the Monarch's hourglass anymore. Instead, only a small, silver-white ball was left in their place. This was the ball of qi made with the help of the pure qi from the heaven-swallowing vine, as well as the 81 balls of qi of the qi condensation stage. And yet, Shunlong didn't seem to have any intentions to stop, as his body started absorbing the qi around him even more greedily. A day later, there seemed to be 2 identical silver-white balls of qi in the Monarch's hourglass. Shunlong's cultivation was rising non-stop, and 10 days later he had already reached the peak of rank 1 in Earth grade. And yet, although the qi inside the Stone of Time had started to thin, Shunlong didn't stop cultivating, and a few days later he had already reached the early rank 2. Early rank 2. Middle rank 2. Peak rank 2. Early rank 3. Half a month went by, and Shunlong was now just a step away from the middle rank 3 in Earth grade. But what horrified Shunlong was the incredibly high requirements of the Monarch's hourglass. With every minor rank that he advanced, the Monarch's hourglass required more and more qi. Finally, 5 days later, another popping sound was heard from his body as his cultivation reached the middle rank 3. Little Black, who had long ago finished his breakthrough, was staring at Shunlong with eyes shining brightly. Nearly a month has passed, and Master has already reached the middle rank 3 in Earth grade. However, it seems like the qi from the heaven-swallowing vine has almost all been sucked dry by Master. A few hours later, Shunlong's cultivation had already stabilized at the middle of rank 3 in Earth grade as he opened his eyes. However, the moment that he opened his eyes, Shunlong felt a stinging pain while the Stone of Time started rotating inside his spiritual space. Shunlong almost felt as if needles were piercing his eyes, and yet he couldn't even close them, while Little Black could only look at him horrified without having any way to help him. It took almost an hour for the pain to start subsiding, and yet, there was still a numbing feeling in his eyes. Turning his head to look at Little Black inside the Stone of Time, Shunlong noticed that the black dragon was looking at him tongue-tied. Little Black watched the entire process as Shunlong's eyes had turned into a golden color, while they were also emitting a faint blue light. As Shunlong turned to look at Little Black, a scene suddenly appeared in his mind where the black dragon stood in front of him and said, "Master, your eyes, their color." 5 seconds later, Shunlong's eyes had turned back to normal, only to notice that Little Black was looking at him, repeating the exact same words after just a few seconds later. Shunlong was stunned as a feeling of déjà vu overcame him before he felt something akin to a small explosion coming from his spiritual space. It was at this moment that the Stone of Time had stopped rotating, and it radiated a horrifying suppressive aura that made even Little Black, who had just experienced a major breakthrough, feel like he was just an ant. Scene after scene flashed by Shunlong's eyes, as they had unknowingly turned back to that golden color again. A bit more than an hour later, Shenlong woke up and sent his consciousness back to his body before he sat up from his bed. Little Black, who saw that he had finally woken up, then asked, "Master, what happened to your eyes earlier? Are you okay?" Although Shenlong's eyes had turned back to normal now, Little Black wouldn't forget that they had changed colors earlier. Shenlong was ecstatic as he thought of his new ability and explained to Little Black, "Don't worry, I'm okay. I just didn't expect that the Stone of Time would have such a gift for me as soon as I advanced to the Earth grade." Chapter 91 Future Eyes. Little Black was confused as Shenlong then said, "Take a look at my eyes." As he finished speaking, Shenlong circulated his chi to flow into his eyes. His eyes immediately turned golden and Shenlong then mumbled, "Master, what is this?" Almost at the same time, Little Black also said, "Master, what is this?" The black dragon was stunned for a second, until a horrifying thought flashed through his mind and his breathing suddenly became faster. Shenlong saw that Little Black had an idea of what was happening, but he wasn't planning on keeping it a secret from him anyway, so he explained in a serious tone, "I can glimpse into the future." As soon as these words left his mouth, they were akin to an explosion as they reached Little Black's ears, making the dragon unable to even speak. Shenlong, who saw Little Black's reaction, continued, "When my eyes turn golden, I can glimpse about 5 seconds ahead into the future. If used properly, this ability can even be stronger than my Monarch's domain." Little Black nodded his head at Shenlong's words as he said, "Master, this ability will definitely be much stronger than your Monarch's domain." Just thinking about the possible uses of this ability, both Shenlong and Little Black were trembling with excitement. Shenlong then asked Little Black with a hint of expectation in his tone, "Little Black, what about your breakthrough? Did you succeed?" The black dragon roared as he spread his wings and revealed his aura that had reached the early rank 4. Thankfully, Little Black was still inside the Stone of Time and his aura was contained inside it, or else the entire sect would have been alarmed. Then he said proudly as he looked at Shenlong, "I have already reached the early rank 4, Master. If I were to fight that silver-winged rock again, I am more than 80% confident that I could beat it." Shenlong was happy that Little Black managed to increase his strength as well, and after sitting down and thinking seriously for a bit, he decided, "I can still advance my strength while I let the heaven-swallowing vine recharge the pure chi inside it, but it's better if I get accustomed to my current strength first. I can take this chance to speed up the maturity of the profound earth fruit, the purple fragrant grass and the other medicinal herbs, and then refine the pill I need." As Shenlong sorted out his thoughts, he sat cross-legged on his bed and sent his spiritual strength inside the Stone of Time, in the place where Little Black stayed, and the heavenly swallowing vine as well as the rest of his medicinal herbs were stored. As his consciousness entered inside, Shenlong was stunned. Somehow, the space inside had grown from 30 square meters, all the way to 300. Little Black noticed the stunned Shenlong and said, "Right, Master, I noticed that the space here grew larger as soon as your cultivation entered the Earth grade." Shenlong was happy that the space inside had actually increased. With Little Black practically living inside here, the heavenly swallowing vine and all the planted medicinal herbs, as well as the dozens of rank 3 beast corpses, there really wasn't any more room left here before. But now, Shenlong could plant as many medicinal herbs he wanted, or store magic beast corpses without worrying about the space inside. Sitting on his bed, Shenlong used his chi to hasten the growth of the medicinal herbs inside. After 3 hours, his chi had been completely depleted, but the effects on the medicinal herbs were simply astonishing. After advancing to the middle of rank 3 in Earth grade, Shenlong's chi, be it in quality or quantity, was incomparable to before. Shenlong spent the next 3 days growing the medicinal herbs in the Stone of Time, as well as getting accustomed to his increase in strength after his consecutive breakthroughs. 3 days later, he had more than 5 profound earth fruits, while his stalks of purple fragrant grass had reached more than 20. Shunlong took out a few big wooden barrels that he had purchased from the treasure pavilion and sat down inside the special alchemy room as he started warming the peak rank 3 bronze grade medicinal cauldron that was placed inside. Little Black was somewhat puzzled as he asked curiously, "Master, why aren't you using your own cauldron if you want to refine pills? My cauldron is too small to refine what I want this time." Little Black curiously watched Shunlong, who had just started his preparations. As Shunlong sat down in front of the medicinal cauldron, more than a dozen rank 2 medicinal herbs, as well as almost all his stalks of purple fragrant grass were all neatly arranged in front of him in precisely 20 different sets. After the cauldron was warm enough, Shunlong started throwing in the rank 2 medicinal herbs, adding the purple fragrant grass last. After advancing to the middle rank 3 in earth grade, Shunlong could easily refine rank 3 medicinal herbs like the purple fragrant grass. He assumed that even the profound earth fruit wouldn't pose much of a problem either with his current spiritual strength that had advanced by leaps and bounds along with his cultivation. Half an hour later, Shunlong opened the cauldron and a red-colored fluid could be seen inside instead of a pill. Little Black, who saw this liquid, immediately said, "Master, don't worry, everyone fails in alchemy sometimes. There are no alchemists that can always succeed every single time." Shunlong, however, didn't seem disheartened at all. Instead, he lifted the alchemy cauldron that was more than twice the size of his own, as he poured the red-colored liquid in the wooden barrels. Chapter 92 Arena Challenge. After emptying the red liquid from the medicinal cauldron, Shunlong started refining again. Half an hour later, Little Black was stunned as he saw the same result inside the cauldron for the second time. Following the same movements as before, Shunlong poured the red-colored liquid inside the wooden barrel. He continued this process 18 more times until 3 wooden barrels were completely filled. Shunlong's entire room was now permeated by an intoxicating fragrant smell, that even wafted outside his room. After sealing up the barrel tops, Little Black was surprised to see Shunlong placing the barrels inside the stone of time as he buried them in the field along with his medicinal ingredients. A fragrant smell assaulted Little Black, who was now looking expectantly at the 3 barrels. Shunlong smiled as he saw the eager black dragon and said, "Although we will have to wait for a few days, I'm sure that the wait will be worth it." Little Black nodded his head as he heard this, and he took a deep breath, inhaling the lingering smell in the air. Now that the barrels were sealed, the intoxicating aroma had stopped diffusing in the air. Unknown to Shunlong, a commotion had already started in the upper 4th and 5th levels of the mystifying fragrance pavilion as people were now trying to locate the origin of this aroma. Just as Shunlong stood up from his bed, his sect jade started shining as 2 words appeared on it. Arena Challenge 689. Shunlong's eyes shone as he understood what this meant. It was said that those ranked in the top 1000 in the arena could directly ask for this kind of challenge once per week. The challenged would then be notified by a message in their sect identifying jade, stating the arena rank of the challenger. As Shunlong opened the door of his room, then, he saw a young man in yellow robes sitting on the ground, waiting outside. The young man's eyes shone as he saw Shunlong, and he quickly sat up as he bowed and said, "Senior brother, my name is Ji Chu. Young Master Fu has sent me here to deliver a message to senior brother." Shunlong guessed that the message would probably be about Liu Mei and Meng Shenji, as he then nodded his head and asked, "What did the message say?" Ji Chu looked around to see if there was anyone spying on them before he lowered his voice as he said, "The Meng family will ask for her hand in marriage after the secret realm closes." As Ji Chu finished speaking, he bowed again, and without another word he quickly left the mystifying fragrance pavilion. Shunlong watched the disappearing Ji Chu and thought seriously for a while before he also left the mystifying fragrance pavilion as he headed towards the arena. "Master, it looks like the Meng family must have come to some sort of agreement with Lu Changpun if they are going to make their move after the secret realm closes." Shunlong agreed with Little Black's words and nodded his head while he kept walking towards the arena as he thought, "There is definitely more to this situation than what meets the eye." The arena was just a 10-minute walk from the mystifying fragrance pavilion, and soon, Shenlong had arrived in front of that huge building. Since there didn't seem to be any important matches today, there wasn't any huge crowd queuing up to enter inside either. After entering the building, Shenlong first walked towards a counter with the words registration above it. A red-haired man was waiting there, and as soon as he saw Shenlong, his eyes lit up as he said, "Surprised to see me?" Shenlong shook his head as he had already thought earlier of who his challenger would be. There were very few people that would specifically challenge him in the arena, as he didn't even have a rank here yet, and one of them was precisely Guanhong. Guanhong looked at Shenlong, who didn't seem to show any shock, and raised his voice as he said, "Don't tell me you are going to chicken out now that you know who the person that challenged you is. Aren't you the strongest who won first place in the outer sect exam 2 months ago?" As Guanhong had raised his voice intentionally, the disciples around them all turned their attention towards him and Shenlong. "So this is the person who took first place in our sect in this outer sect examination. I heard that he is nothing much. This batch of new disciples is really weak." "I agree. I heard that even the person who got first place from our floating cloud sect, only managed to get the 4th place in the overall rankings of this year's joint sect exam." Guanhong's expression turned somewhat ugly while Shenlong looked at him and nodded his head as he said, "Don't worry, I accept." Then he turned his head to look at the female outer disciple who was in charge of the registration as he asked, "Can you tell me the rules of the arena here?" The female disciple looked at Shenlong in a weird manner. Was this handsome young man going to fight in the arena for the first time? But the person who challenged him is at the top 700. She smiled at Shenlong as she said, "Firstly, you need to be registered in the arena if you want to participate in a fight. Please give me your sect identifying jade." As Shenlong handed his sect jade to that woman, he saw her pulling out a black jade from the bottom of the counter as she placed it above Shenlong's sect jade for a few breaths of time. A light then came out from the black jade as it entered Shenlong's red jade. The woman then placed the black jade at the bottom of the counter, and as she returned Shenlong's jade back, she said, "You are now officially registered in the arena. If you want to participate in a fight, you are free to challenge anyone that is not at the top 100 rankings. A person can only refuse a challenge if he has already fought for that day. Otherwise, refusing a challenge will count as a loss, and the challenger can then take the ranking of the challenged. Now please take a look behind you." As she finished speaking, the woman pointed at a big wall behind Shenlong that was filled with various names and numbers. As Shenlong turned to look at this wall, the woman explained, "This is the top 100 arena rankings. Only the top 100 strongest outer disciples can be ranked here." At the top of the rankings there were 3 names shining with a golden color that were different from the rest. As Shenlong's eyes glanced over them, the person sitting at the top of the list shocked him. Rank 1. Name, Wenzihao. Wins, 147 losses, 2. Chapter 93. Beating Guanhong. Both Guanhong and Shenlong were now looking at the name at the top of the list in the arena rankings. When the woman saw them, she started explaining. "That person is the strongest out of all the outer disciples, senior brother Wenzihao. It is said that senior brother Wen is not only extremely talented, but he is also said to possess some kind of special physique that is unbeatable within the same level of cultivation." Guanhong nodded his head, and it seemed that he already knew about this person. Shenlong's gaze moved downwards as he observed the other names as well. The person ranked second was named Kong Sun, and although his wins and losses weren't as exaggerated as Wenzihao's, he still had 110 wins and just 33 losses. Shenlong kept observing the names in the rankings until he caught sight of a familiar name near the bottom of the list. Rank 93. Name, Xiao Juyan. Wins, 36 losses, 20. The woman was also staring at the rankings as she said, "Belonging to the top 100 is a form of honor for every outer sect disciple, and only the people ranked 101 to 200 are allowed to challenge them. Putting the top 100 aside, even entering the top 1000 is exceedingly difficult. The sect has millions of outer sect disciples, but only about 200,000 of them have reached the Earth grade and participate in the arena rankings. To be in the top 1000 among 200,000 disciples, I'm sure you can guess how difficult that is. As the woman finished speaking, Guanhong looked at Shunlong provocatively as he puffed out his chest, before the woman continued explaining. After entering the top 1000, one can issue an official challenge to another person directly through the sect identifying jades, even if the other person isn't registered in the arena yet, just like senior brother Guanhong did today. Cultivators at the top 1000 ranks and above, will also receive spirit stones from the sect every month depending on their rank. I don't know why senior brother Guan challenged you, but I suggest that you forfeit the match. Anyway, in your case, since senior brother Guan is higher ranked than you, even after forfeiting you won't drop in rank. Although you can't cripple or kill others in the arena, accidents have happened in the past as well. Shunlong shook his head after hearing the woman's words, and having understood the rules he turned to look at Guanhong before saying, "Let's go then." Guanhong was excited seeing that Shunlong didn't choose to forfeit from the challenge, and he followed him inside the arena. Guanhong and Shunlong both had to wait as there was already a battle going on inside. 10 minutes later, as soon as the previous battle finished, Guanhong jumped at the center of the stage. Some of the disciples in the audience immediately recognized him as they said, "It's senior brother Guanhong." "Senior brother Guan? Who is that?" "It's senior brother Guan who got the second place in the outer sect examination. 6 days ago, he even beat senior brother Yuhi and entered the top 1000 in the arena rankings." "The top 1000? Then, is his opponent today also in the top 1000? "I don't know, I haven't seen this person before." After seeing Shunlong, none of the disciples in the crowd recognized him as they watched him enter the arena. Shunlong, who had just advanced to the middle rank 3 in Earth grade, was also excited to test out his new strength. Guanhong then took out a saber from his spatial ring, and as he held it in front of his chest he said in a voice that oozed confidence, "I had already warned you that the day would come when I would challenge you in the arena, since you stole my first place in the outer sect exam. I'm sure that you accepted today's challenge thinking that you have a chance against me, but it's time to show you the difference between us." As Guanhong finished speaking, he completely unleashed his aura, and he surprisingly had already advanced to the early rank 4 of the Earth grade in these 2 months that he had returned to the section. Shunlong wasn't surprised at all by this, and after looking at Guanhong in the eyes as he finally spoke, "You have been boasting since the first moment I saw you. You even challenged me in an arena fight after breaking through to rank 4 in Earth grade because you felt that I stole your spotlight in the outer sect exam, and you are certain that this is your chance to take it back, right?" After taking a breath, Shunlong continued, "But what you don't seem to understand is that from the start I didn't even care about you. I have to admit that if this was 2 months ago, then you would definitely be a troublesome foe to deal with, but now." As Shunlong finished speaking, he unleashed his aura of a middle rank 3 Earth grade cultivator that made Guanhong suddenly laugh. "Just a middle rank 3 Earth grade disciple and you dare to stand in front of me? Brat, I don't know what trick you used to get first place in the sect exam, but you have no chance against me." Holding his saber with his right hand, Guanhong rushed towards Shunlong as he sent slash after slash at him. Shunlong's eyes turned golden as he dodged left and right, avoiding Guanhong's slashes by a hair's breadth. Shunlong didn't even activate his Monarch's domain as he tested his golden eyes. Seeing in the future and knowing every single attack that your opponent would do was a massive advantage. 2 minutes later the crowd had started booing as they said, "Why are you only dodging? Are you even a man? Fight! Fight senior brother Guan fairly." However, there were others within the crowd that argued with these people as they said, "Fairly? Is dodging not a part of fighting? That's right, idiot. Senior sister Tong is also an expert at dodging. Are you implying that senior sister isn't fighting fairly in the arena? As the arguments were getting more heated in the arena, Guanhong had started to lose his patience when he sent a wide slash towards Shunlong's face. Shunlong's golden eyes shone brightly with a feint of blue light inside them as he then tightly clenched his right fist and took a step back. It was simply one step and yet Guanhong's slash completely missed its target. Shunlong gathered his physical strength in his right fist, as he then sent a full-powered punch at Guanhong's ribs, that were completely undefended when he had lost his balance after his wide saber slash. Crack! A cracking sound was heard from Guanhong's ribs as he was sent flying for a dozen meters into the air, before he fell on the ground sideways, his right hand still clutching his saber. Shunlong looked at him with apathetic eyes, not feeling even the slightest sense of pity for his plight as he asked. "Give up yet?" Shunlong's golden eyes shone as he saw Guanhong's left hand grabbing a concealed dagger from his robes and throwing it right at his face. Without giving him a chance, Shunlong sent a kick at Guanhong's body, who was then sent flying once more as it crashed in the arena walls. Guanhong spat out blood from the impact as his eyes bulged out before he lost consciousness. As soon as Guanhong's body fell to the ground, Shunlong felt that his sect jade was warming up as 3 numbers appeared on it. 689. The crowd was completely shocked as everyone had now fallen silent. An expert at the top 1000 ranks in the arena had been beaten senseless and toyed around as if he was a kid before falling unconscious. Amidst this silence, the voice of a woman in the audience was particularly ear-piercing as she said, "Brother! He is the one." Part 5 of the series ends here. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like and subscribe so we can be motivated to make even better videos in the future.